IP and amount of ignorance we're about to get into right now.
Sit your $5 ass down before I make change.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Black on Black Cinema. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
All right, guys, we're back. This is episode 191, Small Axe, episode 4 and 5, Alex Weedle and Education. These are the final two episodes of the Steve McQueen anthology series entitled Small Axe. This is a review of those. You can watch the previous two episodes, episode 189 and 190, for the previous four episodes. Previous three episodes. Again, this is a review of Small Axe. You can check these out on Amazon Prime. All right. So the first one up is Alex Weedle. This is, it's about a soon to be in the story, a black British novelist, who was sentenced to a term in prison, after participating in the 1981 Brixton uprising. That is a very light way of explaining this story, and sort of explaining the end and kind of ignoring the rest of it. But, what did you think of this one?
I think that explanation is the other half of the movie, right? Like, not the other half of it, but like you see everything, you see a lot of things leading up to it. It's a biopic, not a biopic, a biopic. And it is, I think the biggest flaw is of this movie, which flaw, right? Like, this is good, right? Like, it's good. It feels too like, and it needed to be longer.
It needed to be longer because it does time jumping, right? Like, you don't quite realize it until the end. You're like, oh, okay, that was all right, got it.
Like the structure was kind of throwing me for a bit.
Yeah.
And the subject matter was interesting, especially in the beginning. We'll get to some of the things that I related to, but it just kind of, it just kind of jumped around a bit, and it didn't seem to. It was a weird sort of focused unfocusedness.
Yeah.
That didn't really sit well with me, and it is it's my least favorite of the five.
I agree with you. It is my least favorite, though. It is still quite good. Like, that's the thing. Is like,
but that's the thing. Like, I wanted more from it. Like, I wanted more.
I feel like this one would have been okay to been a 2-hour one, right? Like, to really kind of flesh out this guy's story.
Yeah. If
there's that much material there, I don't know the guy's entire life story, so I don't know. Because Alex Weedle is a real person. For folks who don't know, he was offered by Steve McQueen to co-write this episode, but he turned it down because it was just like, too close, man, too close. Right. I can't imagine someone asking me to write my story, right? Like, it's I can't remember that Dave Chappelle bit, but he was talking about like that one movie. I forget what the fuck it was. But it was like the black dude, like, who the story is about. Like, he wrote it. It was like, how are you just like anywhere remotely reasonable when you're writing a story about how awesome you are? Like, yeah, my dick is huge. I'm an amazing person. Like, you can't help but to like overindulge. So yeah, I can see where that would be a little too close for him. He's got a dial-on issue, but yeah, I definitely thought this was the weakest of the five, and that's saying something considering I thought this was actually quite good. The time jumping is one of them. One of the issues I have with it. The other is, I don't know. Like, I agree with you. I just wanted more. It always felt like there were like missing gaps in his perspective and missing like the jumps in time. Like, he seemed almost like a different person, right? Like, at one point, like, you see him and he's a very specific personality, which we'll talk about. And then hard cut, the next time you see him, he is a wildly different personality. whoa. Bro.
Right. He sounds like me in the first part. He like hard cut, and he's doing like a full on patois speech, and it's just like, what the fuck happened between point A and point B? Like
it's like the story's being told by an unreliable narrator.
Right, exactly.
But like it's him. Like he's the one telling the story to his cellmate. So.
He's like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. I speak patois now. Like, wait, what? Like, but in the beginning you just say, don't worry about it. It's like, yeah, it is the unreliable narrator situation. So, yeah, I thought the time hopping kind of made that a little odd. But like once that is obvious at the end of how it's being told, and it becomes much more obvious at the end, you kind of start to put all the bricks back in place, and you go, oh, okay. And that's like because I watched it, and I kind of fell asleep because it was late, not because of the movie. So I kind of missed the tail end of it. And I was just like, I don't think this is very good. And then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, okay, there you go. Like that all now, like I can put all the bricks back together and try to like build the narrative that they were going for. And then it made a lot more sense, obviously. So yeah, I dug it, but it's definitely the weakest of the 5.
Yeah. So this episode opens up with Alex, adult Alex. I don't know. It's kind of weird because the same actor is playing this character throughout multiple stages in his life.
Yeah, I think this is adult Alex. I think you can only tell by the facial hair. I think that's the giveaway.
Yeah. This is and the fact that he's in jail. He gets thrown in a cell. And he's just, he looks like what I would look like if I was in that situation, right? Like, what the, like, how did I get up here? Like, how did this episode starts off like,
yeah, I know exactly what you're going to say.
I bet you're wondering how I got myself into this mess.
Right. It's the opening to like Thor Ragnarok. Like it's basically that.
And that's kind of the setup, right? Like he gets thrown in jail and he meets his cellmate, Simeon. And
it's a Rastafarian.
And Simeon's is like, hey, sorry about the smell. I'm on a hunger strike and it is fucking my stomach up, bruh. and it's basically like Simeon is just saying, hey, tell me how you got here, right?
Yeah.
What's your story? What's your deal? And then he goes all the way back to childhood, and he's in foster care. His parents gave him up. I don't know what happened to the father, but I think the mother gave him up.
Yeah.
And it shows him putting baby powder on the bed because he wet the bed.
Yeah. Yeah, they weren't too pleased with him about that.
No. And then they cut to his foster parents or the orphanage that he's in. And them fucking snitch ass white boys are like, oh, the black guy pissed the bed again. And
she smacks the shit out of him too.
She smacks him. Yeah, she smacks the dog shit out of him, and then puts the pissy sheets in his mouth. Man.
Yeah, look, that's a wild move. That's exactly the move I'm taking as a parent. Don't pee him in the bed. Can you imagine? That's insane. Relax, lady.
And then the movie, like when we talk about the cutting between things, like it's not like, hey, I'm in jail, here's my story, and then we go back and it tells a linear story, right? Like, it's I'm in jail. How'd you get here? Well, here's 10 seconds of this foster care moment, and then I'm back in jail, like just pissed, and then here's 1 minute of this foster stuff, and then I'm back in jail, and I'm fighting Simeon because I'm pissed and it stinks in here, and Simeon is taking a dump right there and it really smells, and I want to get into a fight because I have no idea what else to do,
and I can't fight like at all. A dude just getting off the shitter just beat your ass. Like, come on, man. God damn.
And then wants to powwow with you.
Like, and that was the thing is Simeon is an interesting character, right? Because he's, I feel like I know that. Was that dude in, his name is Robbie G. Was he in Snatch? He looks just like the guy from Snatch.
Yes, he was in Snatch.
Oh, that is him.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like that guy got, he got like pretty big. Like he gained a lot of weight because he was like fairly thin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, wow, that's a crazy jump in characters. But he's a super fascinating character because, like, after Alex tries to attack him and gets his ass kicked, yeah, he's just trying to like tell me your story, man. Like he's like literally holding him like it's gonna be okay. Like I realize you're trying to fight me not because you're mad at me. You're fighting me because you're fucking mad at the system in your life. Like he's this like purely good Rastafarian guy. Like it is kind of amazing the type of character he is portrayed as. So yeah, he's a really likable guy. Besides all the shitting, he's a really likable guy because he just is trying to understand where he's coming from.
I have to imagine that if this was an American movie or a movie with two white guys in it. In this exact situation, that the Simeon character, if he was white, or if this was an American movie, would not be so benevolent.
No,
it wouldn't just be like, tell me your story, man. Like, I think this is something that is uniquely, not even uniquely black, but like uniquely West Indian.
Yeah, well, and I wouldn't even say uniquely West Indian. I would say uniquely Rastafarian. Specifically, right? Like just that idea. I mean, they even have a conversation about like racism and stuff like that at the end. He's like, I'm Rastafarian. Like, we don't believe in like, I forget the term he uses, but basically like, we don't believe in like dividing up people kind of thing. Like you either, like they just try to treat everybody with respect. Like that's just the whole thing. I mean, he's literally there on a hunger strike because they don't have an ITAL diet, which is just a vegetarian diet, right? Like this is just the type of guy he is. Like he's just like a good person through and through because of his religion and everything, right? Or his way of life as he describes it. So yeah, he's fascinating. But I agree with you. If it was an American film, I'm not sure that it wouldn't be incredibly brutal.
Yeah. So he's just like, yo, just calm down, bro, and just tell me your story. Get it out, right? And then we cut back to Alex at 8 years old. And I think he's supposed to be 8 here. And he's in school, and he's in school at his desk, and his friend is there with him. And he's introducing him to reggae music. And Alex is like, yo, I'm really digging this, right? I'm really vibing on this. And then the little prick from Harry Potter.
I was gonna say Draco Malfoy. That's exactly right. Yeah.
He turn that coon wog shit off, man. Look, on the one hand, I get it. This nigga's playing the radio in the classroom.
Yeah, turn it off.
Turn that coon wog shit off. But at the same time, nah, you ain't got to be all turn that coon wog shit off, man. Like,
nah, you get your ass beat for that.
Right. Like, come on, man. And yeah, Alex beat the shit out of him.
Rightfully so.
But that kid was egging him on because he knew what would happen, right? He knew and this is what I was talking about a couple episodes ago. You got to know where you are and you got to know where you are before you get triggered, right? Like, yeah, I understand you want to beat that kid's ass. Beat that kid's ass at 3:00.
Yeah, at the flagpole. Everybody knows that.
Right. Like, just fucking knock his ass out outside the classroom. That way, and look, I get it. You want people to know, right? You want people to know that you fucking knocked Draco Malfoy out. Like, just do that shit right after class.
Yeah.
But you know, I get it, right? Tempers ran high. He came after that motherfucker because the fucking white boy was doing like monkey motions and shit.
Oh no, yeah, you gotta fight that dude.
Yeah, all right.
Like, so look, sometimes it's worth it. I mean, what's fucked up is he beat this kid up. That kid, of course, doesn't get in any trouble because he's white.
He smiled.
He smiled. He was like, "Yeah, I got what I wanted."
Right.
They put Alex in a straitjacket and pushed him to the ground, and like teachers were like, "Stay here, monkey." I'm like, God damn, yo, it's 1979 or like 75 or some shit. Like, the fuck are we doing in Britain? Like, we putting black kids in straitjackets. Like, come on, yo, that's insane.
Shit is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Shit is ridiculous.
And I don't think Steve McQueen is like exaggerating. I'm sure that happened to kids.
Oh no, I'm 100% sure this happened to him.
Yeah,
I'm 100% sure that this happened to this human.
Yeah, I was gonna say Alex Weedle. Yeah, he's a real person.
And it's fucked up, man.
It is.
Fuck Draco Malfoy.
Agreed.
Then the film cuts to, I guess. So does he get kicked out of school? Is that what this is?
Yeah, he basically gets sent to. He kind of gets sent to a. I don't know. Again, the time jumping is difficult, right? So he gets sent to what I is this the hostel that he gets sent to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he goes and he meets Dennis and I can't remember the other person's name.
Yeah. So yeah, he basically gets tossed out of school, and now he's on his own as this very, very British sounding black dude. And you suspect that it's a number of years later, right? Like, they're not going to throw like an 8th grader or whatever age he was supposed to be out on the street. Like, he's, you know, probably 18 at that point. But yeah, he's basically thrown into this hostel, and it's like, make your way for yourself.
Yeah. So he meets this character named Dennis, who has a striking resemblance to someone, but with 2 working eyes, and they you know, they're looking at him.
Fuck you. Wow.
Am I wrong? No.
No, you're not. You're really not. And I hadn't thought of that. You're really not.
But
that's kind of funny.
But you know, they meet him, and they're looking him up and down, and they're like, "Yo, what is this? Like, what are you? What are you, black dude? Like, are you?" He essentially looks like a cornball, right?
Yeah,
and he doesn't know what the slang term for money is. Like, you got some corn? Like, corn? No, I had a cup of noodles the other day.
Yeah.
Like, no, nigga, corn, cheddar, bread.
He was like,
go.
Like, oh shit, I'm sorry.
Money?
Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, I mean, he's again, he sounds like a typical white Brit, and
Right.
Here he's been thrown into this West Indian neighborhood, right? And it's just, don't say anything. Sorry, that was an inside joke about who this person looks like. We're assholes. But here he is thrown into this West Indian neighborhood, and he's supposed to sort of adapt and fall in line. I mean, part of the movie's message is, or at least from my perspective, was this sort of being a part of a group and being because of the way he was raised, right? He was raised in in foster care and stuff like that, and not by his actual parents. He somehow internally becomes an outsider and then becomes an insider again, right? Like, so he has this weird perspective on clearly on West Indian culture and how it lives in Britain and of white Brits and things like that these other West Indian folks don't have. So it's it's a pretty amazing little perspective that he ends up developing.
So
by the end.
this is what the part of the story that I related to. It's, you know, he's essentially having to learn how to be black throughout the next, you know, part of this movie. You know, to the point where it's like Dennis is teaching him, you know, how to walk, and Dennis is teaching him, you know, don't stare at the cops, and Dennis is teaching him, you know, like, hey, you know, when you go in here, we're gonna get you a haircut. We're gonna get you a black haircut, right?
All right,
like,
blow up.
And part of me related to this because I know what it feels like to not be black enough
By whoever's standards.
Right.
I've definitely never heard that in the comments of this exact YouTube page. Yeah.
Like, and I feel like I get it from people that like are my friends sometimes too. You know what I mean? And I've certainly got it from my family. I've even gotten it from my father at one point. I was on we had a family reunion Zoom call, right? and everyone was, you know, saying hellos and all that. And my parents were on, and I say good evening because it was 6:30, well into the evening.
Was it dark out?
And yes.
Okay, you're allowed.
My father was like, I don't know if he didn't realize he wasn't muted, but he was like, oh, Mike got to be all proper now.
It's just good evening. That's
all I said was good evening. You know? Like if I'd have came on here and been like, yo, what's up, niggas? How y'all? Would it be like, yo, like to my family,
like that's
his family? Then there would be a problem. But maybe I'm too sensitive about that shit.
Good evening. Did you do your hand like this? Like, did you like do the motion of like tipping your cap or something?
That is way too much effort for something that I did not want to be on.
Fair enough. That's a valid point. Yeah, I mean, I get it because of the way I talk, right? Which apparently, I don't talk like whatever people assume a standard black person is supposed to talk like. I went to school. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I did. Like, I'm sorry. I don't think I'm better than you. I don't like. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, my Baltimore accent comes out more when I'm around my family. Like, you've obviously been around. Like, it comes out then because my family definitely has not as hard of a Baltimore accent, but they definitely have one. And so it comes out like when I'm talking to them, like that's when it comes out. But
whereas my Baltimore accent comes out when I talk,
right? Just all the time, right? All the time. But it's not like some people are like, "Oh, you're putting it on." I'm like, that's how I talk all the time. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't get off this podcast and I'm like, "You're like," I'm just like, that's not how I talk. Like, that would be ridiculous. It's true though. No, but it's like, it's just the way I talk. Like, I went to school. I was around a lot of people, black, white, whatever, that like growing up that talk in a certain way. Some people also just don't have accents. Like they just don't. Like that's a phenomenon. Terrence, who definitely is not a person who anyone would confuse with a white sounding voice, quote unquote. He says his sister has the same thing. Like he was like, his sister has like zero accent and she sounds like in a very similar way that what they refer to as like the standard radio voice, like yeah, that you can't tell where the person is from.
Voice.
What's that?
She's got a Cleveland voice.
Yeah, that's what they say, right? Like that was the whole thing. They wanted all radio people to sound like they were from Cleveland. But I remember when I moved to the West Coast at one point, people were like, "Oh, where are you from?" I was like, "Baltimore." They're like, "You don't sound like you're from Baltimore." I was like, "I know." And I got it multiple times. I just don't. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I think there is a profound issue with what is black, what is acting black, I don't even like the term acting black. Like, I take the Carlton from Fresh Prince standpoint. Black is what I am. It's not what I'm trying to be. Like, blackness is more than some accent you hear from a rapper or, some terminology you hear on the radio. Like, not all black people sound like that, which is weird, right? Like, people will say shit like that. Black and white people would be like, oh, you don't sound black or something like that. But I'm like, all those celebrities, like highly educated black celebrities that they also sound like me. Like, but people never say that. You know who sounds quote unquote white as fuck? Stacey Abrams. You ever heard her talk? She does. Yeah, she's educated. Like, she speaks without any, like, she doesn't have like much of a Southern accent at all.
Yeah. Like I was about to say women don't really have it, but no, my sister has a very much a Baltimore.
Yeah, she does. Yes, she does. Sure. My mom does.
But yeah, like, look at like Lance Reddick. That dude's from Baltimore.
Is he?
Yes.
Wow. This is bullshit. Right.
Is bullshit.
Yeah, that is not a Baltimore accent, dude. At all. That dude's awesome. He should be Professor X, by the way.
He should.
Yeah, that's a fantastic choice. That'll make white people real mad. But yeah, sorry, like, it's just some people have those accents. They just do. Like, it's not unnecessarily on purpose.
And it's not something that you have to be taught how to not, you shouldn't have to necessarily, like, unless you are going into a career in which it is your job to speak to a bunch of different people.
All right.
You shouldn't have to, I don't know. I find it strange when your own people tell you that you shouldn't sound like the way you sound.
Right. Like, that's like, what my voice sounds like. What the fuck?
And this is different from like code switching.
Right.
Like,
that's a totally different conversation.
Like, this is I'm supposed to be able to be myself around people that look like me, right?
Right. That's exactly right.
Or at least that's the feeling that I should, that you should. And I don't know. It pisses me off, man. It really, it's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. I mean, I've dealt with it pretty much forever. So I definitely agree with you. What I do find interesting is that idea is dying more and more, right? Like, I think people have realized, like, what you're actually saying is, when you say people sound white, is what you're saying is white people sound like are speaking clearly, and the fact that you don't use slang,
proper.
Right, quote unquote proper, whatever that means, right? And that black people cannot sound that way. Like, that's ridiculous to me. Like, is anybody saying Henry Louis Gates doesn't sound black? He speaks properly. Right. Right? Like, is the implication that if you speak with slang, somehow you're not intelligent? Or if you have a heavy accent, you're not intelligent? I'd like to introduce people to Ta-Nehisi Coates.
I was about to say the same
Come
thing.
on, he got the strongest Baltimore accent of all time. The dude's brilliant. Right? It doesn't make him any more or less black. Like, he couldn't get rid of that accent if somebody paid him $1 billion. Like, you can't shake it. I love listening to him talk. That shit sounds like home to me. That shit sounds like crabs on a table with newspaper. Like, that's what his voice sounds like to me, right? Because it's just familiar to me. Which I think is part of the reason why I love to hear him speak about, like, super serious shit. Like, if he just had my accent, I'd be like, wow, that guy's really smart. But because he has the Baltimore accent, I'm like, oh, he's one of us, right? Like, so I kind of feel that way. But yeah, it doesn't equate blackness one way or the other. We all have different experiences. We all grew up in different places, right? Like, I grew up in Baltimore, but, like, I wasn't dodging bullets as a kid. Like, I just wasn't.
Right. You didn't grow up in West Baltimore. Like, get out of here.
No, I didn't. But I also didn't, like, I also didn't, like, live away from the city for, decades either. Like, I didn't. I grew up in the city. I didn't move out to the county until my parents were, like, until I was 16. And I always sounded like this. Like, it wasn't like, all of a sudden. I'm not like Alex Weedle, who comes back with a completely different accent in this movie. Right?
Right.
Like, it's not.
Madonna.
Yeah, I was like, the fuck is going on? Right. Yes. When Madonna had a British accent. All right.
From Detroit.
Knock it off. Knock it off. I've heard your earlier music. Started fucking Guy Ritchie and just changed everything.
So we see a couple of scenes of Alex and Dennis kind of walking around town.
Trotting.
Dennis tells Alex to try on some shoes. Like, they fit well. All right, run, man, run.
They just straight stole them. Yeah, that shit was hilarious.
We see Alex in a record store because he's a big fan of reggae music, and tries to get a free record. The dude was like, "Yeah, no, bro, get out of here."
Tries weed for the first time.
Yeah, tries weed for the first time. I guess I'm not black.
You're not. See, I'm black as shit.
He comes out the record store and is just like, "Hey, Dennis!" Like, yo, what are you doing, yo? Like, don't use my real name.
Yeah, don't use my government name. Like, what's going on? What's going on, friend? Like, get out of here. No. It's like, nah, yo, call me Dread, Brethren, anything. Like, I don't give a fuck. Don't use my government name.
We meet a new character named Badger. Badger does not take a liking to Alex because, you know, Alex acts, walks, talks like a narc, right? Like he ain't black enough yet. Yeah. And then we get a scene of Dennis teaching Alex how to walk. And
yeah, this is disaster. Just disaster, dude. Like, this guy Alex literally walks around like he has a actual stick up his ass.
Yeah. I mean, cause it's like,
he's like, he's been trained to be so prim and proper. It's wild.
Yeah. But, the two of these two guys, they have a bit of a argument because it's you know, from what we were talking about, basically, like, you don't know me, man. Like, you don't know me. You don't know my story. You don't know why I walk, talk, and act like this.
All right. Like, this guy was abandoned by his parents.
Right, yo. Like, this guy's had a hard life, and
it
just got started.
Right, and it's probably been a much harder life than Dennis, who is like, oh, you don't know what it's like being around here. He's like, you don't know what it's like being abandoned by your parents and being, you know, surrounded by nothing but white people who hate you and treat you like garbage. Like, yeah, I might seem like this, you know, prim and proper guy, but I've had to be to survive, basically, which is, again, like, that's a very important element to understand about anybody's story, right? Like, you have no idea, right? Like, I'll take myself for example, right? Like, it may seem like this accent or, you know, the way I speak, oh, Jay went to these like top-notch schools and all this other shit. No, dude, like, I grew up in Baltimore City. My mom and I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment above someone's house when I was a little kid. Right? Like, my dad wasn't around. He was a Rolling Stone type dude. Hey, I'm here, a couple minutes, and I gotta go. That type of shit, right? Like, I didn't grow up like Clarence, whose parents have a very good marriage in fucking 8 Mile. Like, no, that was not my life story, right? So, like, I had like not like hardships like Alex did, but like those kind of things make you into the person that you are. Like, however that goes. So, like, you don't know people's story until you know them. And like, the whole point is, at the end of the day, all of those stories that make him into who he is at this point is the basis by which he builds this other, much deeper, serious persona as he gets older, which even they end up going like, wow, this guy is like, this guy is really fucking telling our story, but he's not really telling just your story. He's also telling his own story, but it's just a part of him you didn't know. Like, it's a fascinating, it's a bit of a fascinating sort of character development for him.
Dennis at one point tells Alex, he says, look, I can't know how deep your pain is, but just know that I'll look out for you.
Yeah. I thought that was a nice statement.
Yeah. And that he is his actual friend. Like he's making fun of him and teasing him and all that. But at the end of the day, like, nah, yo, like we're cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna abandon you. As a matter of fact, how about you come to my mama's house? She cooking me Christmas dinner, and then he started naming shit, and I'm just like, yo, you gotta stop naming shit.
How are you hungry?
I can't go out and get nothing. I'm hungry, yo. I'm hungry.
Look, man, Grubhub definitely. You could probably Google or search on Grubhub like West Indian food. I bet there's a West Indian place near you.
Oh, there are, like right down the street. But I don't want to go outside because
they don't got delivery.
No,
I mean,
no. That's how you know it's good.
Oh, damn. I'm going on Grubhub right now. I already had dinner, but I just need to know for later. Let's see what's up.
Shit, we got a lot of Ethiopian places.
Oh, see, I fuck with Ethiopian food. Hell yeah.
So, yeah. Then they cut to Dennis's house. Almost said that name. They cut to Dennis's house, and you know the whole family's there, and Alex is just like taking it all in, right? Like, wow, this is what having a family means, right? Like, this is what having a real family is like.
Yo, that one lady literally sat down next to him and just handed him her kid. She was like,
she didn't even know his name. Just like,
watch
hey,
this
you
kid.
hold the baby.
That's how, like, you know, one of the things that's sort of a through line through all of these, is, and I suppose this is true to some level of experience in the West Indian culture that Steve McQueen had. But my guess is it's a truism across the entire culture. The sort of open, what's a way of saying this? The sort of open, positive emotional connection between men is something you do not see in American black movies. Right? Like with Simeon in jail, with Dennis and Alex, like this, like, look, man, I don't know how deep your pain runs, but like, I'm here for you. Like, that is just not dialogue you hear from black men in American based films. Did you notice that at all?
You barely hear it in America from black men.
Right. Let alone in films. Right.
Not in movies.
Right.
Period.
Right. But I think that's a really awesome thing that they make a point to show that these guys really care about each other. Like, and not in that, like, yeah, we cool, nigga. Like, not in that way. Like, nah, you know, we can like, give me dap or whatever. I'll give you a head nod from a distance, but like, really love for these guys. Like, it's kind of interesting. I think it's a positive.
Yeah. It's basically like, he basically took the Olive Garden slogan and just made 5 movies about it.
I swear to
when
God.
you hear your family.
I swear to God, I fucking hate you. Shut up.
And look, he gets that he's taking it all in, man. He gets that plate. He act like that. He moves so fast. The mother was like, "Yo, chill out. It ain't gonna sprout legs and run away."
Right, like, yo,
you calm down.
Like, and I guess that's a product of growing up in sort of, this like public housing kind of thing with like everybody around. Cause it felt like people coming home from either the military or from jail. Like, you got to eat quick so nobody fucks with you.
Hurry up.
Yeah. And he was just like, he was going to work. Like, dude, relax. That dude hadn't had a good home cooked meal since forever.
Yeah.
Like, relax. But yeah, it should look good. Not gonna lie.
And then they showed a quick scene of him leaving, and it brought him to tears, man, because it's like
he never had that.
Yeah, he never had that, man. And
yeah, sorry, I just found a good place, not that far from my house. I forgot about that place. Yeah, all right, bet.
So this was the best part of this. This was the best part of this movie for me. Just this beginning part.
Yeah.
Not to say that the rest of this isn't good, but I appreciated this part the most.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I actually think I prefer. I don't know. This is like the first act, right? That 25 minutes is kind of the first act. Right as he's like leaving the house, it feels like kind of the end of the first act. I really like the third act as he's sort of establishing himself really in that world. From then on, I think it's really dope. The middle is where I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, the middle. So we cut to them in prison again, and this is where Simeon is like, look, you know, Rasta's not a religion; it's my life. You know, we don't discriminate. Like, we just, like, you're cool with me, I'm cool with you.
Right.
And he's trying to impress upon him the things that he's learned, right? And he's just like, yo, you got to get an education and you got to read.
Yep.
And, you know, that is literally the most powerful. Knowledge is power, right? Like, it's so cliche at this point, but it's cliche for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, how do you feel about that? Like, in the US, there's a big notion of like pushing back on, like college education as like, it's not for everybody, which I would agree. It isn't for everybody, but, you know, it's a financial scam and maybe people shouldn't go and da. Like, it has been beaten into black folks that education is the means that sets us free. Like, does that conflict? Do you find that conflicting at all for you? Because I definitely see a lot of white kids pushing the idea of like, college is bullshit, da.
Well, for them, it can be because they are inherently given certain opportunities that a black person in that exact same scenario would not be afforded. Right.
Right.
And yeah, it's the surefire way to advance, right? Like, you can throw a ball really far, you can catch a ball, but that's like hitting the lottery.
Yeah, right? Probably more rare.
Right. So, you know, I do think that education is very big. It is, and we'll get to it a little
Obviously
more in the next episode. But
what's that one called again?
But you know what? Let's save all that for the next episode.
Yeah, that's fair.
This middle part is like you said, kind of weird. Not weird, but this is a part of Alex's life where he is fully accepted. He has this new family of friends, and you know, he is trying to he is going on this journey for his music, right? His love for music.
Right.
And he wants to be a DJ. And we see him, you know, he is like they're like making speakers and stuff.
Yeah, this is a wild sort of thing. Apparently dudes in West London were like, nah, yo, we just got to make our own speakers and we just make them as big as humanly possible. And just start our own groups, like our own reggae groups and shit. Like, that's kind of dope. Like, I'm sure the level of mediocre bullshit reggae came out of there was a lot, but I'm sure there was some amazing shit that came out of there too. Like, just people were just super hungry.
And you know, he has this dream to be a DJ, and but he doesn't have a job, so
right.
he has to essentially, he meets with this drug kingpin to
Dion Cole. He doesn't look like him, dude.
To you know, to do some work, to get some cash. And you know, they do the thing that you do in movies where drugs are involved. Like you got to prove you're not wearing a wire, so you gotta prove you're not hiding anything.
Right.
In certain movies cases, so you got to strip down.
Yeah.
And you just gotta stand there butt ass naked with your twig and berries just kind of hanging out there. And at this point, Alex has his West Indian accent, right? Like he's pulled his Madonna, right? And the drug kingpin is just like, where you from, new kid? Where you from, youth? Because your accent sounds a little too British for my liking. And he's just like, nah, yo, I'm cool. I'm down. All right. And he's just like, all right, so what you going to do? So basically, Alex is trying to assimilate, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And he's still being called out on his authenticity.
Yeah. And it's right. He's not trying to move West Indian culture. He's just trying, like you said, he's just trying to, push himself further into it. But it's like, I don't trust this guy. And that's of course a point of contention for him. But the other guy, like they weirdly like him. They're like, all right, he trying, right? Like, and that goes to what we said during the Mangrove episode, right? We will, like, if you're cool with us, just like fucking Simeon said, you cool with us, we're cool with you. Like, we will accept you if you don't bullshit us. Like, that is just part of black culture. We can't help it. Like, it is born of us like anything else. Like, we are an incredibly accepting people of even outsiders. Cause like, there's a later moment, I'm like, what the fuck are those white people doing there? But we accept you if you are fully accepting of us. Like, we are. So yeah, even this guy who definitely has a strong British accent.
So at one point, Alex and Badger are walking down the street. Alex has to take a piss, goes into an alley. Badger stands lookout. Cops roll up on Badger, beat the shit out of him. And
for no goddamn reason.
For no reason. And throw him in the van. You hear this thud, and I keep the subtitles on because my ear is not tuned to West Indian accents, like in extended periods of time.
Right.
And one of the subtitles is just like, it says something to the effect of like, loud thud. And then you see the van as it pulls away, and there's this just giant red streak where they bashed his head on the van, man.
Yeah. Again, for no reason. Like, that show was reason.
So, but Alex evades the police, until like the next night where he's standing in line at a club. Cops roll up on him, call him a fucking nignog.
Yeah, he was like, nice jack. That's a nice jacket, nignog. And he was like, his response was dope as fuck. He was like, fuck you, bacon. And they were just like, oh, word? And then they just beat the brakes off. Yeah, fuck you, bacon to a cop is pretty good. I can respect that. Probably wouldn't have said it. Probably just would have ignored it. Not really trying to catch a billy club to the chest. But yeah, they just use that as a reason to give his ass a rough ride.
And for the third time in this movie, we see him in a straitjacket, the exact same shot, laid out on the floor.
Well, he's not in a straitjacket. He's just handcuffed behind.
Yeah, he's handcuffed. But the shot is parallels the other two straitjacket scenes.
Right.
And then they just take him somewhere and just drop him off.
Like super far away from the city. It's fucked up. Yeah.
Like, God damn, yo.
Cops really ain't shit. Like, around the world.
It's really not, yo.
Some things are universal, man. Some things are universal.
Cut to something else I can relate to. Alex's friends, Dennis and Dawn, they try to hook Alex up on a blind date, and I don't think they told him.
Nah, yeah, they didn't.
Nah, don't do that shit.
Whatever.
Don't
Coward.
Don't do that. And Dennis is like, come on, man. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Oh, you let me down, man. You let me down.
That sounds like a very familiar conversation. Where have I been a part of that conversation before with you? Gee, if only. Yeah, but that was really funny. He was just like, nah, I'm just not gonna say nothing to this girl. Nothing. But then they tell him, they start having, everybody in the party starts having, well, party, it's just people hanging out. But they start talking about, there was a party recently, I think they call it New Cross, and it got firebombed, and like a number of kids got killed, right? And they're pretty sure it's a white person because of racism. Again, we can't just have a house party, not bothering nobody. We can't just have a fucking house party. Which is such an amazing contrast to Lovers Rock, right? Which is a movie solely dedicated to this innocent house party where everyone just has a good time, minus the fucking date rapist. You know, and the woman he tried to rape. But it's, but I think that's on purpose, like the way it's ordered, you know, like Red, White, and Blue was in between this. So it's like, just as your mind is off of house parties, here you get back into it, but then this like really tragic turn on it, right? Which I don't think is by chance. And so at that point, Alex is really, he's starting to realize that he shouldn't be so much concentrating on like the bullshit of reggae, but like using reggae as really talking about some real shit.
Use people using their art, and music does that, man. Like music is the best way to try and indoctrinate, for lack of a better term, to get your point across. It's a rallying cry. It's why Bard is a class in role playing games, right? Like,
right.
You use it to rally troops.
I mean, the entire anthology is named after a Bob Marley line, right? Small axe. Like, if you're the big tree, we are the small axe. Like Bob Marley's music was deeply political, deeply political. So like the idea of him feeling that call, after hearing that story is, I think that is the true difference between like bullshit musicians and people who know how powerful their art is. Right? Yeah, everybody can sing about like shaking your ass and stuff like that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Like that's not a judgment. But there are some people who can pivot and do stuff that really matters and really can be a rallying cry. Like it can change lives. It truly can. So
and you can go the other way, right? Like
absolutely.
You can make a song with the line that says some of those that burn crosses are the same that are on forces. But then you could be singing that while waving a Blue Lives Matter flag because you don't
fucking get it. Or Born in the USA. Some people think that that's a positive song about the United States. It is not. It is not. You should probably read the lyrics. White people trip me out with that one. That's my favorite. Yeah, Born in the USA. I'm like, it's about how shitty the US is. What are you talking about? Or you could make a song in 1975, for instance, that convinces people that maybe a certain boxer who was locked up is a totally innocent man. But then we see the movie years later and review it and realize, maybe not. Bob Dylan with Hurricane. Great song. But that dude was not as innocent as he was purported to be. Bob Dylan did get away with saying nigger in that song, which is okay, Bob Dylan.
He made it. The only reason he made it.
He was like, how do I get the word nigger into a song? I know about that black guy. Like, I don't think that's it, but that's the story we're gonna go with. He did rhyme it with trigger, which is unfortunate.
So
That's a good song.
So they were talking about this massacre, and then it cuts to just a narrator, a generic narrator, talking about basically the New Cross house fire.
Yeah.
And it's he's talking over a bunch of what I presume are actual photos taken during the riots that are about to be shown on screen.
Yeah.
And
just general protests as well.
And general, not riots. Well, the protests, and it was very powerful, right? Like,
they're great shots.
This is what good art does, right? I immediately went to my local internets to look up what this was because I didn't know anything about it, and then we see this protest and this standoff with the police, and it gets wild.
Yeah, it does, and it's shot. I would argue it's shot incredibly well. It's also super fucking terrifying.
Steve McQueen doesn't do like big sweeping like aerial shots of scenes like this. He gets low. He gets you in it. You know what I mean? Like, the camera is eye level or lower with these things, so that you feel it. Like you see these cops with these shields coming directly at the camera. You know what I mean? Like you see all the jostling and stuff like that. Like you feel like you're in it, which is, as you said, terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, like to have the camera like right in front of these guys and then like keeps like switching perspectives. I mean, it even at one point kind of switches to a cop's perspective, like, you know, just kind of brief, you know, like right behind the front line of the cops. It makes everything more visceral. Like it's not a one-sided fight. And what I mean by that is not just like black folks just getting beaten on. Like they are giving it as much as they're getting it. Like, so it feels riotous, right? Like it feels like I'm holding the camera in a way, which is a really powerful way to shoot this. Like it just is. But yeah, it's a fairly brutal scene in some parts.
Yeah. Alex gets away. I think he meets up with drug kingpin at one point.
Yeah, because he was hiding in a dumpster, and he was like, "Yo, you stink! You like get out of my house."
Then we cut to Alex home in bed, and he has been inspired, and he is composing a song, like a rallying cry.
Right. By the way, just as a side note, I think it's important to notice what is happening with like the drug dealer guy, right? He don't give a fuck about any of the shit that's going on. This dude is like trying on sunglasses and shit, getting ready to go to the club. It's sort of that dichotomy between black people who are in it and black people who just don't get, like, not that you're not in the middle of it and care. It's people who just don't care. And like their lives are just not affected by this in any direct way. So he's just like, yeah, here's the money. Get the fuck out of here. Ooh, what do these shades look like? Right? Like he's just not, his concern is just not even there.
Yeah. Like most people with money. If it doesn't directly affect them, it doesn't matter to them.
Right.
I won't say most, but a good number.
Yeah.
I
think that's largely true.
They have a party. Alex tries out his new song, goes to sleep, wakes up again. First thing in the morning, police raid the house.
Yep.
And they apprehend him, and now we are caught up to the present.
Yep. And that's what he did time for being a part of it, right?
For being part of it, yeah. Not just being part of it. And then this is where Simeon
is, telling him about how education is the key, and education will get you what you're looking for, and
also you need to unlearn the things that you've learned, which is an important thing, especially for Black people, right? We are, again, we'll talk about it more in the next episode, on education. Like, we are taught so little about our own history, or we're taught a very Eurocentric version of African history, or Black people in this country and things like that, that sometimes it does take unlearning certain things to learn it properly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This is pretty much it. We cut to we cut to Alex. He's out.
Yeah.
And he decides to go to the welfare office to get his records. And he meets up with Badger, and Badger's still the same old Badger, but he's trying to get some cash from him.
Right.
But Alex has other things that he's worried about. Right. And Alex has decided that he wants to try and find his family, to see who they are. And he walks off with Badger. And I believe he ended up finding his family. He was reunited with his
mother and sister, I think.
And his sisters.
Right.
In America, and his father in Jamaica.
And then he ends up, and from that, he ends up becoming a writer, a very successful one. He's written like 12 or 13 books. He's got one coming out next year.
15.
And he's got one coming out next year, incidentally. Yeah. So very cool.
So this isn't bad. It's not. It's very good. I just wish there was more.
Right.
Like I kind of, like you said, maybe there's not much else to tell.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like I wanted a little more.
Yeah.
Like I could easily have watched another 45 to 60 minutes of this. So.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I wanted to see more of where it went.
Yeah.
So, all right. That's it for Alex Weedle. Hard stop right here. Or this part of the episode is on education, the fifth and final episode of Small Axe. Okay. So in this one, it's about a little boy. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up his name. I'm sorry.
Kingsley Smith.
Kingsley Smith. And he is basically he's a kid who has trouble reading, but the story is about how the British government basically had this not official or unofficial policy that they would basically move Black and brown kids to these ESN schools, which were basically education subnormal, or educationally subnormal. So out of regular British schools, thus sort of putting them in the British version of like school to prison pipeline, arguably. So, or school to mediocre jobs pipeline, if you will. And so it's about that. And this is a real thing. And it was basically, exposed by a guy named Bernard Cord, in 1971 in a pamphlet called How the West Indian Child is Made Educationally Subnormal in the British School System. So it's kind of a big deal. What did you think of this episode?
This is a strong contender for number 2 in terms of these 5 films.
What's the top one for you?
So it's a toss up between Mangrove and Red, White, and Blue.
Okay.
And part of me is I'm leaning towards Red, White, and Blue.
Right.
But Mangrove is so good. But I think
Red, White, and Blue is so unique that like I can't believe that it's a true story.
Right.
Like I'm amazed that it's a true story.
Right.
But Education is a strong number 2, and
Yeah.
then maybe Mangrove is number 3. Lover's Rock would be 4, and Alex Wheatle would be 5.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I really like this, man. And look,
Yeah, I thought this one was great.
I like kids, man. Like kids are, I'm not one of those people who is, a born social worker, right? Like that's not my calling, right? Like,
Nice.
but
Yeah, I
at
don't
the
see
same
that.
time, like there are people who hate kids.
No, I don't hate kids. Kids are
I don't
awesome,
hate
generally.
kids. Kids are great. You know what I mean?
Shitty,
Like, I love-
shitty kids are shitty kids because they have shitty parents.
right? Like
That's mostly it.
right. I used to volunteer and because I wasn't legally of age to get paid, but I used to volunteer at like an after school program
Right.
when I was younger, just because kids are cool, man,
Right.
and they're fun, and so I like kids. So any story with kids, you're gonna get me right here in the feels.
Yeah. Yeah. Education is a big thing. But there's an aspect to this one that I cannot help to have a sense of pride and a sense of fuck you to white people, if I'm being honest. And a part of me, and then on top of that, a sense of this is something so unique, and generally white men will never know what it feels like. And I don't mean the marginalization of their education or something like that. That's not the part I mean. I mean the victorious part of this. But we'll talk about it. So actually, I'll talk about it now because I'll end up forgetting. So like at the end of this story, like one at the end of this story, I'm like, there's like,
come on, man.
what is
I
this
ain't
salty
made a stone.
discharge from my face, right? And yeah, I'm not ashamed to say I definitely cried at the end, because I thought it was really emotional. But the thing that white males will never understand, and white women to an extent will understand more, but they also don't get it as much, is they don't get collective joy of their people making it. Right? And we get that more, and not just black people, but marginalized people, period, right? People of color especially, right? We get it more because of a tragedy, which is that we are all painted the same, right? Doesn't matter how well you do as a black person, if one black dude does something bad, then we're all painted with that aspect, right? We always have to represent all black people all the time, no matter what we're doing, right? That's a heavy burden for black people to carry. And we all do it, right? All equally, we all do it. And it is hard and it is unfair and it's just not right? Like, black dude on the news, he robbed a bank. All black people are like that, right? You're like, that's not true. But white people never have to experience that, right? You see a white guy robbing a bank, it's just like, that white guy's wilding. Like that's just how the world works for them, right? Like they don't have to represent all people. But because of that sort of collectivism that is thrown upon, that negative collectivism that's thrown upon us, the inverse of that is that positive collectivism when one of us succeeds, right? That's why white people could never understand truly. I would say not enlightened white people couldn't really understand. Well, Barack Obama was president, but he was elected president, but like he did it, like you guys didn't do it. So what are you talking about? You made it. You don't understand that because if he didn't make it, we have to take, like if he had done a crime, a horrible thing, that goes on us.
If he were to hold that office and
Was like
have 5 kids from 3 different women.
Right.
Stop right there.
Right. That's enough.
Stop right there.
Right.
I mean, the man wore a tan suit.
For God's sake.
People gave him flack about it.
Right.
So can you imagine?
Right. Trademark.
Right. But I understand what you're saying.
Right. Like, so because of that tragedy of having to carry all negative stereotypes of us, we also get to carry all the positive accomplishments. Right. And so when this kid is I'm going to get emotional right now. When this kid is reading that story at the end, like, I felt like that was my son making it, right? I felt like that was me making it. Like, that's the thing. And that's where I'm a softie as I get old, man. Like, I am. Like, I cry at movies all the fucking time now. It's ridiculous. I'm like, who are you? Right? Like, but I do. Like, you and I were texting during the inauguration, and you're like, I'm getting a little emotional watching this. I'm like, yo, I'm already crying. This is ridiculous. Like, what's happening, right? These are the text messages between Mike and I. I'm crying, yo. But that sort of collective win is a thing that, like, white men do not understand, right? Like Italian white guys are like, an Italian guy, right? Cause like Italian guys were like, Italian people were treated like shit. They weren't white forever, right? Like, so I get like that they're still tight to that idea. Irish people, they still have a little bit of that, right? Both of them get a little bit of that. But like an English white dude, like a French white dude, like, you know, of like French ancestry, they don't have any of that shit. Everybody is just a hardline individual. But for people of color, we don't have that. So we're not allowed, by your hand, by the way, by your hand, we are not allowed that. And I'm actually, at the end of the day, I'm actually okay with it. And I especially am okay with it as I was thinking about this particular thing. I was like, that's why, right? Like, that's why we are always like, we made it. Like, nigga, we made it. Like, that is a thing for us because that is how society is set up for us. And so when this kid and those other little kids at that table are just like, they're just going for it. Like, these are smart fucking kids and these people are believing in them. I'm like, that's us, right? Like, that is us. And so I think that is a powerful thing. And there's a super powerful moment at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it really does it for me.
This is I'm like you said earlier, these were presented in this order for this reason, right? Yeah. You see Mangrove, right? You see just injustice, right? Yep. Injustice from the victim standpoint. And then, you know, we need a palate cleanser. So we see Black Love. It's like, oh, I feel good about this. Yep. And now you see injustice, but from the victim and a good cop's perspective. Right. And, you know, it's something unique, something you don't see anymore.
Right. He's on the side of, in our eyes, on the side of villainy, but he's also victimized, which is fucking wild. Right.
Then you see in Alex Weedle, it drills it down to one singular person, not a group of people, right? Right. Like it draws it down. And then but it's consequence of what would have happened in the first movie, right? But without all that extra, you know, pomp and circumstance, without the help, right? Right. But while he's in jail, he gets told that education is the key. And then you see this story about education and how and how once again it's a form of oppression, right? It's a form of oppression that they are doing this to these particular people. And you see that it is something to strive for, and it leaves you with hope, and it leaves you feeling good, man. This guy,
I'm telling you, man, he's in a different league all his own. Like, he really is. Yeah. If you haven't watched these, man, you're just listening. You should go and watch these. They're very good. They're very good. And again, it's not about black trauma or black pain. It is about showing the stories of our ancestors before they're gone. That's a dope way to look at it, man. I will use that line from now on. I think that is an awesome way to say it. It really is.
Stealing it.
Yeah, that's right. I came up with it. Steve McQueen stole it from me.
Right. People will know I have stolen it because it is way too eloquent for something to come out of my mouth.
They were like, this doesn't even sound like something from Baltimore. Get out of here.
Right. He didn't say yo at any point in that phrase. I don't think you said that, sir.
You're lying. Exactly right.
Yeah, this is the number 2 for me. I loved it. So we see this class at a planetarium. I guess this is
planetarium
about planetarium, learning about the Andromeda.
Yes,
and we cut to this family, the Smith family.
Yes,
yeah, the Smith family. You know, dad got a uniform on. Mom has he's got like a jumpsuit uniform on. Mom has like a maid's uniform on. So we quickly establish, these are just working parents trying to
working class.
Yeah, they're working class, man. They're not millionaires and billionaires. They're the working class. And we see that they have 2 kids, older girl, younger boy. And we cut to the kids. We cut to the younger kid. His name is Kingsley, in class, right? The class is reading a story. Each child has to read like 1 or 2 sentences of a story. They go in line.
Yep.
It's Kingsley's turn. Kingsley is having difficulty reading it because Kingsley can't read. I didn't know if it was just that he couldn't read or that he may have some sort of dyslexia.
My guess is it was somewhere. It's some level of learning disability, which is not a sign of intelligence. As a person married to someone in education, it is not a sign of intelligence. Having a learning disability, because I'm pretty sure I have like a level of dyslexia. It's not a sign of intelligence, and a lot of people think it is. Boy, the amount of stories I hear of parents getting super mad about saying that their kid has a learning disability and refusing to address it and then letting it get worse and worse because of their own ego, because they don't want to think that their kid is not smart. It's like, it's not about being smart. Like, right. It's just not. So yeah, he has some level of learning disability that makes him not a great reader. But again, when you talk to him, he's a smart kid. He's a very smart kid, actually. Yeah.
So the teacher calls him a blockhead. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's quality teaching there.
Quality. Yeah, goddamn. And he gets out of class. They go through the rest of the day. They're in band class and they're all singing. And I forget the name of the song, but Kingsley says he spouts out a line that's a double entendre. Will you suck my dictionary? And he gets called out for it. The band leader is like, or the band teacher is like, "What you say, boy?"
Yeah,
just like, I don't know. I didn't say nothing. And
you in big trouble. You in big trouble.
And luckily they didn't throw him in a fucking straitjacket. There's a plus, I guess.
Oh, this is a good school.
Yeah. So he gets kicked out. End of the day, they both go home. We see the kids saying their prayers, and they're saying prayers how kids say prayers, right? Like the sister, who is very smart. She's established that she is very, very educated. And she's treating God like a genie, right? Just like, thank you for these good grades. I hope I can keep getting these good grades because I want to go to the Fashion Institute of Technology in France or whatever. And Kingsley is like, help us have sweet dreams. I want to become an astronaut. And I want to play for Tottenham.
Yeah.
Cause I'm a Tottenham fan like Brad.
This kid is already very wayward for that reason alone. Who knew that a kid in a Steve McQueen movie would have more in common with Brad than the two of us? My God.
So I just thought it was cute.
Yeah.
We cut to the next day. Mom is with Kingsley and at the school, and they're having a meeting with the headmaster. Headmaster is like, nice to meet you. I should probably have seen you more often than I see him in my office.
Yeah, and I liked his line, liked in quotes. I'm a Christian man, so you and I can connect on that. Like, she doesn't know this, but he basically, I'm a Christian man. I wouldn't lie to you as I'm about to tell this big fat fucking lie, right? Like, so that's his way of sort of worming her trust, worming into her trust. Look, I live by the Malcolm X view when it comes to religion between white Christians and black Christians. High noon on Sunday is the most segregated time in America, right? Like, being a white Christian, being a black Christian have nothing to do with one another. They just don't. They might as well be two completely different religions.
Yeah. Yeah, he's using religion as a weapon, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I just hate it. Like you said, he's trying to appeal to her, and he's talking about her son's behavior, and I get a bunch of complaints about him. But then he gives some spiel about, well, we took an IQ test, and he's not where he needs to be, so we are going to send him to a special school.
Yes.
And Kingsley knew straight up, like, what? Like,
I don't go to no special school. Get the fuck out of here.
Right. He called it a stupid school. They're going to send me to a stupid school.
Yeah, he wasn't buying it because he's not an idiot. Like,
right. Like, he's not dumb, He's not.
He just has trouble.
Be careful. I gotta be careful because I don't want to, I don't want to disparage those schools. The good ones, not the ones that are in this movie.
Right. Some kids need, like, this is a school for kids not with learning disabilities, with like mental disabilities.
Right.
They put this black kid in a school where the little white girl is barking like a dog and other animals, right? Which was hilarious having the subtitles on. It's like, girl baas like sheep. I was like, I mean, she did. But it's for kids with mental disabilities. But like just the viewpoint of white British thought process is black kids with a learning disability are on par with a white kid who barks like a dog constantly and doesn't speak. That is how they see these West Indian kids, which is really fucking horrible. It really is.
So I want to get your opinion on something because it's a fine line that we are going to have to walk as our children get older.
Sure.
But the mom believes the headmaster.
Sure.
Not without question, right? But she believes him more than her son. And that is that's something that I've experienced, right? Like, the parents believe the
the principal or whatever, because why would they lie, right? Why would they lie? But I don't know, where do you fall on that, right? Like, do you give your kid not the benefit of the doubt, but like, I'd like to think that I would give his side of the story a little more thought.
I would definitely give it more thought.
But at the same time, I don't want him to take advantage of me either.
Yeah, it's not easy. I
would like to think that I don't raise someone who would take advantage of me, but like, that's just
he's still
nature.
a kid. Yeah, he's a kid. Like, kids lie. They lie a lot about everything. Right. I'll ask my daughter, like, did you just have this? No. Like, yo, I'm watching you eat that. Like, yes, you did. Yeah, because they don't, like, there's no real consequence, right? You just say whatever. Like, what do you want to hear? I don't give a fuck. Yeah, it's blue. Who cares? So yeah, I mean, I'd like to think I would take my kid's side, but it is a hard road to run, right? Because you don't want to not believe your kids, because that can backfire when they're trying to tell you something fucking for real, right? Like, oh, teacher touched me. And you're like, no, they didn't. Like, nah, like, you just got to go up there and beat the teacher up and suffer the consequences. Like, oh, they were lying? My bad. I'm sorry, right? Like, it is what it is. Like, sorry, I had to beat your ass in the parking lot. Look, mistakes were made. But yeah, it's that's a hard road to run. I am very lucky that my wife is an educator, so she has definitely seen plenty of patterns of how kids manipulate, like, what they tell teachers versus what they tell their parents, or like how they reinvent the stories and shit. So she's seen a lot of it, which will be good, because I'm gonna be like, does that make sense? And you're like, she lied. Like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's hard, right? Because your kids do lie, or sometimes they're telling the truth, and adults lie. They absolutely lie. I mean, my mom definitely figured out, I don't know, man, like, she was really good at discerning the difference between me trying to bullshit her and a teacher trying to bullshit her. Like, she could tell. I mean, I remember that one time, dude, I was in like 3rd grade, and I had a horrible teacher. Like, she was awful. And it's a place where a lot of black boys kind of get lost. And 3rd grade is a big turning point, apparently. And I was like, again, I'm like, I was like doing well in school, and I just had so much trouble with this woman. And my mama went up there and she fucking read that woman a fucking riot act. She did. She leveled into that woman's ass. And after that, we had no problems. Like, it was just, so like, my mom was like, look, I'm not buying it. Like, I know my son, like, I'm not buying it. But in other times, like, nah, mama, that's what's happening. She's like, you're full of shit. So like, and she was right. So I don't know. I think you kind of get parental instincts there as they get older, because you know them more, right? Like, you can pick up when your kid's trying to bullshit you, and you can pick up when they're being sincere. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I don't think I'll know until I'm in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I just figured it would be interesting to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Look, you're talking to the guy that would forge his grades, because, I didn't want my parents to think I was as stupid as I was.
They found out eventually.
So, so I want to believe. I think the lesson that I take away from this is just to be active, right? Mm-hmm. You got to give a shit. And that's the thing that parents tend to not do, right? Like, we're as we are recording, we are in the midst of a pandemic, and I feel like a lot of parents want to rush their kids back to school under the guise of them caring, but at the same time, part of me feels like they just want the kids out the house.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Tyler, the Creator line. Like, because I care about my kids. Oh, that was a fucking lie. Like, I feel like I agree with you. I think a lot of people are just like, I need you to get the fuck out of the house.
Yeah, man. Like,
yeah,
look,
I feel like a lot of people believe that.
I
Or
get
think
it.
like that. Of course.
I get it. It's hard. It's
Super
very hard. Imagine like your child not being able to do anything on their own. Like that's what we are going through right now.
Right. Yo, it's
So
super fucking difficult. Working and having a fucking 2-year-old. Are you out of your mind? It's impossible.
Right. But at the same time, I know that you got to work, and I know that when you come home, you don't want to help your kid with stuff, especially more work, especially school work, right?
Like, I graduated, God damn it.
Right. You barely remember what the hell is going on, but at the same time, like, you got to give a shit.
You have to.
You know, I saw some coalition today had a news conference. Some newly formed coalition had a news conference talking about they want Baltimore County Public Schools to give us a date, and we want them to open by March 1st. And
that's pretty much what Baltimore City is planning on doing.
Yeah, Howard County I think is doing it too. So, but it just they just came off like it makes me mad because they're using the bullshit like, well, it's for the students. It's for the students. And one of the press corps there were like, hey, do you mind if one of the students say something? Like they had students there. And no, you didn't let them kids talk. Of course you didn't. Because it's, I don't know.
Look, I get it. Like if you have a job where you cannot go to work because your kid is of an age that they have to be home and they can't be independent on their own, right? Like, let's say you got like a 5-year-old or 7, right? Like they're well into school, right? They're, first, second grade or whatever it is. But they're, you can't leave them, right? They're not in high school, right? You can't just go off to work. I get your trepidations about continuing the system. I totally understand it. I truly do. But my thing is, are we sacrificing child safety for
your convenience?
Or like the economy? I don't give a fuck. This economy can burn. I'm not sending my kid to get hurt. No, I'm not. Like, it's just me. And that's not, by the way, that's not a judgment of people whose kids are back in school. It really isn't. I'm saying for me. And I do think that a lot of people, when they talk about that shit, they talk about it more from, but I got to go back to work. Like, yeah, and you got a kid. And I understand you got to pay bills and shit like that. That's why I personally advocate for the government to just cut motherfuckers' checks. Stay home. Right. You stay home. You're never going to get out of this shit if people keep going back. If people keep going back to school, we're never getting out of this. Right? Like, not to get too fucking sciencey on it, but you're just making school super spreader events. Like, that's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. So it's, fucking Baltimore City wants to send teachers back without having them vaccinated. Because money is more important than kids. Like, this is a society that tells you kids are so important, right? We change ratings on movies. We do all this shit for kids. And it's like, can you just stay home so kids don't die? Nah, fuck that. We need money. That's how fucked up this society is. Like, like you can say, well, I have to work. That's why I'm saying people should be cut checks. Like, the government could cut everybody a check for $1,000, $2,000 a month so people could eat and make sure they're fine and keep people home. But they don't, because it's more important to sacrifice people's safety than to just stay home. Fuck that. Like, no. I will quit my job before I send my kid back to daycare. I just will before they're safe. No, I won't. Hell no. Fuck no. But that's me. Again, that's not everybody, and that's not I can't judge other people for what they do. Like, I can't. Like, yeah, younger me, wholeheartedly I would judge you, but older me, I just don't. Like, because I can't make those choices for other people, but I know what the science is. I understand what the science is, and I know what I will and will not do. That's it. That's all. That's it.
I'm not knocking people who have to do what they have to do.
Yeah, right. Like there are some people who are just in an untenable situation. It's not
right. But I feel like a lot of these people are just like, I just want a snow day, and I can't have that with my kid here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. I think people try to pretend like that's not true, but I think I think it is true.
So,
and I get it. Some days I do too, but that's not the way reality is.
Yeah,
not for me.
Well, so back to the story. Kingsley talks to his sister Stephanie, and he's like,
"Boy, did they go different ways on names."
He's like, they're trying to send me to a school for idiots. And
she was like, it has a pool. He's like, I hate swimming.
He hands her the pamphlet, and he's like, and she's like, you want me to read this to you? He's like, I read it. I just want you to read it back. She's like, all right, yo, all right, nigga, get out of here. And then reading the pamphlet, and he gets upset because it's like, he knows that this is bullshit, man.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm skipping ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I mean, he basically calls it out. And this poor kid is like, he does not want to go to this fucking school. And they have him on the bus going to this school, and it's literally it's literally like a little girl is barking on the bus. Right? Like, these people are not even remotely of his intelligence level. Like, they're just not, because these are people with actual mental disabilities. And then he's questioned on whether or not, like, he knows what the word exit means and things like that. And like, there's another little black girl who's in the class, and she's also smart, right? It's the barking white girl and a perfectly normal young black girl and a perfectly normal little black boy. Somehow they are the same in the eyes of Brit.
Yeah, like I thought there were more kids than just these three. No, it's just these three, and it's even more like, it's even more like in your face, right? Like, it's just these two prototypical, normal functioning, whatever the proper term is, people, and then it's just this barking girl, and
she also moves. She knows other animals.
Yeah. So we see life in this class, and it's very, it's below where Kingsley is, quite frankly.
Yes.
You could tell this teacher does not give one solitary fuck. The second that bell rings, she reaches on. She's got the cigarettes on her desk, waiting for that bell to ring.
Get the fuck out of here.
Beat it. It's recess, right? Kingsley goes up to her and is like, "Hey, so what are we supposed to be doing something? Like, what are we supposed to be doing?" And she's just like, "Do whatever you want. You can swing from the trees like you're from the jungle back home for all I care." Like, you bitch. Like, this is fucking racism for no reason.
No reason.
God
Yeah.
Damn.
And look, man, that's some hard line racism. Go swing from trees like you were back home. God, like, lady, I can hear you.
You bitch. God damn, man.
Yeah.
He ain't take too kind of that shit either. He flipped her off or whatever. At the end of the day,
I mean, she was nice. Don't break any bones. Thanks, lady. Fuck off.
At the end of the day, so what happens is Kingsley goes to the school that he used to go to with all his friends, and then a special bus comes and picks him up from there and drops him back off to that school at the end of the day. And his friends see the bus that Kingsley was on, and they're like, hey, Kingsley, I know you're in there. Come on, come out, Kingsley.
Yeah,
come out.
Yeah, you're in the crazy people bus.
And he's hiding out from his friends, and bus driver, does him a solid, lets him stay there.
Yeah,
Kingsley's back home, and he's just like, "Yo, this is not good." And he tells everybody that this ain't, we're not really doing anything.
Like, yo, there's a barking dog girl in my class. Like, what are we doing? But this is not a uniquely British thing, right? Like,
no,
putting black kids or misfit black kids who, maybe did a couple of things they shouldn't have done in class with the mentally, or the group of kids who are not neurotypical, I'll say, to be, very generous, was a very common thing. Like, it was so common that they even lampooned that in Hairspray. If you've ever seen the original movie, like, they had all the black kids in the class, and it was like, and then it was like a bunch of kids with like mental retardation. Like the white kids were like they were not normal functioning kids. They're like, I don't know, just put them with the black kids, or put the black kids with them. It was like, that's it. Like, but they're perfectly fine. They just like to dance. Like, that was it. Like, it was crazy, but that is very true.
At the dinner table, the father is like, "Hey, I'm gonna take you to meet Mr. Charlie or whatever. Maybe learn you a trade, right? Because this is all the dad knows, right?"
Yeah, there's a really great moment with him as the mom is trying to explain, like, "Yo, this is not good," and he just absolutely refuses to learn anything.
Yeah, because
it's reflecting on him too.
Yeah, it is, because the dad can't read, and but the dad made a way for himself through a trade,
right?
And my father, he wasn't. My father's not a dumb person, but he's not like a college graduate. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
shit,
but he
my
made
birth dad ain't a fucking high school graduate. How about that?
Right. Like my dad is he's a very smart dude, but it's just not on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And but he made a very good living for himself operating a power plant, right? And
not bad.
One of the things that he always strived for education in our house too, but he wanted. I remember this one time at high school, we had a machine shop class, and I was telling him about it, and he was super excited. Like, it was just the most excited I'd ever seen him, because it was something that he could directly relate to.
Right.
And when I told him that our machine shop teacher refused to teach us because someone threw something at him while he had his back turned, he was really bummed out, because he really wanted me to learn it, to see if I would take to it, to see if it would be something that we could probably bond over. I just found the slight parallel interesting.
Yeah. I mean, education, like, if you look at American education, the American education system, from what I understand of it, Black people, like, taking us out of slavery, they were like, hey, we gotta, somebody gotta drive the buses. Somebody gotta like, as they say in this movie. But they were like, trade schools and vocational schools were solely designed to push Black people post-slavery into those schools so that they would stay in those positions. Like, vocational schools and shit didn't really exist in white neighborhoods, because you could go to college. You could do a vocation if you wanted to, but there wasn't a guiding force to push you into those. Like, there's still a vocational high school It was right around the corner from my old house in Baltimore City. Like, that is so bizarre and unheard of, but that was literally a post-slavery thing to get black people to continue to be mechanics and, you know, low-level nursing and shit like that. I mean, it's gotten much better in the options they have at vocational schools, but like, that was on purpose to work in factories and shit like that. We were never designed, or the system was never designed for us to make it out and go to college and be doctors and shit. Abso-fucking-lutely not. It was designed for us to work menial jobs. And that's exactly what this ESN school system is. It's the same exact mentality.
Yeah.
So.
Very famous vocational school too.
Yeah, my mom went there.
Yeah, like, and look,
there's nothing wrong with it. My mom is a very successful nurse, but that's where she started.
I don't want to come off like holier than thou, right? Like, I'm trying my best to be as respectful as possible, because guess what? Like, all that trade shit, I can't do it.
No, ain't nothing wrong with having a trade. There's nothing wrong with that. It's
right. So I'm
like, this movie to me isn't like, it's not about like college education. This is general education, right? This is a kid.
This is about living up to your potential, whatever
that may be. Right. Not being forced into something, because that's a big difference. And that's what I'm saying about vocational schools. Like, there's nothing wrong with vocations. And like, for white people, there are plenty of white people who work vocation, you know, quote unquote vocations, right? Like a plumber or electrician and things like that. Those are things available at a vocational school. Those are amazingly good jobs, right? Like, you're like a master electrician, shit like that. You easily can make six figures. Like, that is a very, very profitable, good, like, earnest way to make a living, and nothing wrong with that. I ain't doing electrical work. Get the fuck out of here. Like, no. You know who I call? Demetrius and his dad. Like, yo, I need shit done. Or I'm like, yo, can I change this one thing? And he'd be like, well, I'll walk you through it. And I'm like, word. Like, hey, simple shit. Like, simple shit. So there's nothing wrong with that. But this is about forcing people under the auspices of a lie into a certain rung of society and trying to purposely not let them out. And that to me is very sinister. And that's what vocational shit was back in the day. It's less that now, but back in the day, that's what it was designed for.
Yeah. I just want this, I don't want you to read comments. I ain't reading them, but I don't want you to be reading comments about, how we just a couple of uppity niggas who think we smarter than everybody else.
I mean, we are, but they will never have listened an hour and 47 minutes into this episode to know that.
I mean, it's a given, right?
Right. Hello.
It's understood. It's like writing the times one when you multiply something. You don't need to do that.
Right. Come on.
Look, we cut to another day at school, and Kingsley is just like, yo, enough of this bullshit.
Yo, these kids in here wilding.
And he's trying to sneak out. And
yo, the teacher's nowhere to be found. These kids are just banging on desks and shit.
It's just nothing. These kids are just doing whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so he sneaks out, and he actually meets up with a woman named Hazel, and she's like, "Hey, can you tell me where your teachers are?" So he walks her back and to the classroom, and she's like, "Yo, what the fuck is going on in here?"
Right.
And
she wasn't pleased about it.
And eventually, some sort of person of authority comes in, and
yo, this dude looked like he was like 3 sheets to the wind when he walked in that door. That dude looked like he had been heavily drinking. He was like, these kids get on my goddamn nerves.
There was a weird exchange between the other black child, Nina, and Hazel.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, go ahead.
Where Hazel, the question of, are you black was asked.
Right, to Hazel.
To Hazel. And Hazel's like, yeah, I'm black. I'm proud to be black. And Nina said, I'm not black. Or
yeah, that's exactly what she said. She says, I'm not black.
What do you make of that? I don't know.
I think that she was taking. I think Nina, the little girl, was taking the aspect of, like, she didn't consider herself. She didn't consider herself black because I honestly I don't know. I think maybe it was she had to ask Hazel if she was black because she seemed like this like person of authority and like I think she just didn't have a connection with her. But I don't know why she would refer to herself as not being black. Like it was odd. And maybe Hazel or maybe Nina is not as normal functioning as we thought she was. I don't know. Because she was sitting in that room and she was acting a little kooky too. And I'm like, okay. So I don't know. Maybe she wasn't quite as bright as we thought.
Yeah, well, fucking Jack Black's older brother comes in and he gets read by Hazel. She's just like, yo, what are you doing? It's a classroom full of unsupervised children. What is going on here? And the two of them leave. Back at home, mom is looking at Kingsley and she's like, what you doing? And Kingsley barks. And she's like, yo, what? Like, did you just bark? Like, what's going on? And Kingsley's just like, I'm drawing. And so mom is starting to see the weird things. And this is what you're talking about, right? Like, if you don't catch this stuff, like it will make him dumber.
Yes.
Right. Not like
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. And, not that these kids are dumb, but like he's not where they are mentally, but he will become that if he is not taken out of the situation that he is being put in.
Right.
Mom gets a visit from Lydia Thomas.
Yeah.
Who works with Hazel. And she's telling her about the entire situation. Where
she's super breaking this shit down.
Yeah. Where she is, where they say that they put where the system is set up where they find people who look like us and put us in what is called educationally subnormal schools in the British school system.
And this is a very real thing. This is a very, very real thing in history.
Yeah, this story is fiction, but the book that she has, like the entire thing, everything surrounding this situation is 100% real.
Yep.
And mom does what you described earlier. She's just like, whatever, lady. Like, no, the school said that this is a special school for him. And she's like, nah, yo, they playing you. Right.
Yeah. And again, like when she eventually starts to be like, all right, let me read this. I'll read this pamphlet. I'll see how real it is. When she starts to like, oh shit, like this is real. Like, they are doing this to my son. And she takes it to the father. His response is probably more common than you'd think, which is, I don't want to have to deal with this because it's a reflection of me. And people let their egos get in the way. And they do damage to their children because of their own egos. Is super common, man. Like,
do you think for him it's for this particular character? Because there's another way you can think of it, right? Like my son recently went to the doctor for his annual checkup, his birthday checkup. And they said that, they gave him an eye exam and they said, hey, this is nothing to be worried about yet, but I forget the technical term. But they said, if we don't do something about this, he may need glasses. Right.
Okay.
I let that slip when I was talking to my folks. And my dad immediately immediately, nah, he don't need glasses. They don't know what they talking about. They don't know what they talking about. Like he did that. And I'm like,
it's glasses.
It's glasses. His mother wears glasses.
Right. She blind as a bat.
Your wife wears glasses. Like it happens.
My grandson ain't gonna be no nerd.
I mean, but
look behind your son. Yeah, he's gonna be one.
But is it because? But that's not a reflection on him, right?
Yeah, like, but it is. Yeah, but it is.
But is it though? Like, or is it more of I can't fathom something bad happening to my child.
Yes.
Or to my grandkid.
But yeah, it's all of those things, right? It's the idea of you are seeing this kid and in your eyes, they are perfect. And then you start to, as they get older, you start to see these quote unquote imperfections creep up, right? He doesn't have great vision or not good at math or whatever, right? Every kid is a fucking perfect genius until they get more than a week old, right? Like they are perfect. And so any cracks in that, yeah, it starts to wear on people. Like it, and you get protective, right? And I understand it. Like I totally get it. You know, I get it. Like my daughter is a very smart kid. She fucking really is. It's fucking scary to me. I'm like, yo, how do you even know that word? Like we did not teach you that word. You're overhearing us and you're putting it in context. It's bothersome. Stop it. But she also is like, she's also really hyperactive. And I don't know if it's like, is that going to be a thing? Or is she just like, she's 2, like almost 2. Like, I don't know. So I start to get worried about stuff like that. I don't know what her prenatal care was from, her birth mother, who's a fucking, idiot. Like I have no idea, right? My wife and I don't know. So yeah, I get your dad's response. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous response, but I understand it. I do understand it. Cause you want him to be like, he's just fucking perfect. And he's walking and he's talking and he can see and hear perfectly. Like that's what you want. Yeah. If you ask your dad like 6 months from now, if your son, or a year from now, if your son has to wear glasses, your dad will be like, yeah, just put glasses on. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right. Like he would think nothing of it. But in that moment, his response is like, not my grandson. He's perfect. Right. Like this is just, it's madness, but that is, I understand it. Like, I don't have to agree with it, but I understand it. Yeah. And look, you'll have some stupid shit like that. Like you will about him. I'm sure you will. I'm sure I'll have some stupid shit like that about my daughter. Like I remember when she was really young, like she had like a moment where she had like a slight like cross-eye look. And my wife was like, I wonder if she's going to be cross-eyed. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like I got really mad. I was like, how dare you? Like, she didn't, right? Like, it's just like,
my daughter ain't going to have no googly eye.
Right. Like, we got to fix it. What surgery we need to get today, right? But yeah, it turned out like it was just like, like a moment in time and she's fine, right? Like, she never has any issues with that at all. But like, that's not a reflection on me. That's stupid. But that's the type of shit. Like you can't help it. You just can't help it. I'm like holding a pencil up to her eye, like, huh? You see this? What are you looking at? Right? So it's weird. Like, here's another like a super weird thing. Like eye tracking, right? Like you take a pencil, right, and you like move to the left, and they look left or right or up and down. She would never. I have to try it now as she's gotten older. She would never track up. She could look up if you like pointed at something. She'd like look up, like no problem. But if you were trying to track, she'd look left, right, down, and you try to track up, and she wouldn't look up.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm done. I'm over this.
Right, and I'm like, I think something wrong. Like I'm googling it, like WebMD, standard answers. Oh, like not tracking up cancer, obviously, right? Like okay, right. Good.
The worst place to get medical.
Like don't go to WebMD unless you already know what you're looking for. Right, you're just looking for a word.
You might as well get your diagnosis, your diagnosis from a horoscope.
You're right. Pisces, you're gonna die. Like, wow, okay, great. So yeah, it was just like I started getting really concerned, but it turns out no, it was nothing. So yeah, I get it. I totally get your dad, his point of view. It's ridiculous, but I totally understand. And that's basically the mom's idea. Like, nah, you wildin'. The school would never lie to me. That was a white Christian man. Of course he wouldn't lie. Right. That's never happened.
Yeah, there was one point. Where this teacher was singing some song, and he was singing that bitch for like 6 minutes straight. And I'm just like, yo, we can't do this. Mom is noticing some things, and she decides to take a look at that pamphlet. She takes Lydia up on her advice and goes to this meeting where she sees that there are a lot of people in their community who have been fed the same bullshit lines.
Right.
One guy even stood up and was just like, yo, look, I'll be honest with you. I can't read or write, but basically he wants better for his children.
Yeah. Rightfully so.
He even says it's too late for me, but like, yo, what I got to do? Because I'm not trying to, he says, I'm very concerned about this.
Yeah.
And I just want to know what's happening.
Look, man, it reminds me of that whole James Baldwin quote, right? To paraphrase it, which is like, we just want you out of our way so we can raise our kids.
Yeah. I just want to be left alone. That's alone. Literally what he said. Like part of what he said. Yeah. I want to be left alone.
Yeah. Just let us raise our kids, put the kids in school so they have the opportunity to do well, just like white kids. That's it. That's it. It's not much more than that. It really isn't.
Yeah. Mom comes home from the meeting and she's just like, yo, all right, look. She grabs a book and she's just like, yo, baby, I just need you to read this. Like, if you can read, you're not in any trouble. And this is the way to handle it, right? She's just like, you're not in any trouble. I just need you to come over here and read this to me. Right. And he can't do it. And, this was the first. I was holding on as long as I could, but this was the first of the waterworks for me, man. And, he couldn't do it. And
does this remind you of your time in college or? I was being a dick.
And yeah, man, and she sees it. She sees it. And the sister's there. And, the sisters, like a sibling bond is something special, right? Like the sister doesn't want to get her brother in any trouble or anything like that, but she knows that there's something wrong, but she always is sticking up for him.
Right.
But there's not a lot of yelling. There's not a lot of screaming. There's not, that's for the next scene. But she sees it. And yeah, man, it's like, God damn it. Mom tells dad is just like, nope, you're wrong. Nope. Can't just leave it alone.
This is the moment where I again, like, you got to let your ego go. It's not about you. And he can't because he also can't read. So it's like right. He doesn't want to acknowledge that the system failed him, or not even that the system failed him, that he could have been much more than he could have had a different life than what he has. And if by calling out this ESN school and everything else, then he has to look into himself and what happened to him. And people are just they're not willing to do that. A lot of people are not willing to do that. And that's not easy, by the way. Like I don't take that as an easy task at all.
No. The mom goes to see the headmaster and she's like, nigga, what the fuck, yo? And the headmaster was like, I mean, he can't read. And she's like, you sent him to the school knowing that he doesn't belong here. And he's just like, well, you could have appealed it, but you ran out of time. So.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you there was an appeal situation. My bad. Right. As a Christian male, sorry about that. Like, you are a real piece of shit.
You didn't read the fine print.
Yeah, basically, he was like, you shouldn't ask for undercoating. Like, you ain't had to get it.
We cut to a scene of dad and sister, and dad has the book based on written by Bernard Cord, and the dad says something right before he has the daughter read it. He says, I don't know if I trust this Cord guy. And the sister is just like, look, just listen. And she reads excerpts from the book. And it basically just describes what these schools are, what they are, what the scam is, and that it's all facts. Right. And it's once you are enrolled in these schools, it's kind of a downward spiral.
Yeah, it's a school to prison pipeline,
and you end up getting menial jobs or jobs which involve very little intelligence, and yeah, man, like it's this type of racism is insidious.
Yep, that's right? Exactly the right
this
word.
This is the type of racism that I'm actually scared of.
Yeah, no, this is far more damaging than fire hoses and shit. It's far more damaging.
Right. Like we as a people have been able to you knock us down, we get back up. Like it's just built in us. Right. But when people realize that, which is why black people are always talking about infiltrating the system and changing it from within, right? That's what Red, White, and Blue was about.
Right. Because you almost have to.
You have to. Like that's, like people just want to make noise and break the system down from the outside. System is built like that for a reason. There's a reason it's still standing, right? So you got to get in there. That's what the spook who sat by the door was about, right? You got to get in there and you got to erode it from the inside. But when other people realize when other people realize how the system works, and when they realize, oh wait, we're the one playing the game too. We're the one who built this system. Let me read this pamphlet to see how we can oppress these motherfuckers and keep them under our heel. That's the scary shit, because I don't know what you do then.
Yeah, you have to basically, you start to create institutions that, this is going to sound really weirdly political, but you have to create institutions that are fascist in nature, right? Meaning that you set up the rules of said system, you stock everyone who's in it, and whoever isn't already in it cannot get into the system. That's the systems you start to create when people start to infiltrate and break systems. That's what happens if you want to continue, said level of oppression, if you can. So you have to make inroads. Like you have to. Like black people shouldn't run for politics. Bullshit, they shouldn't. You want shit to change? Put black people in there, right? Put Latin folks in there. Put Asian folks in there. That's how you get shit to change, right? Corruption happens, of course, but ultimately the system will break for the better. Like it just will. Smashing it on the outside doesn't do anything. Breaking a couple of windows on a building don't knock the building down. Like it just doesn't. You have to, if you're going to take down a building, you take it down from the inside, right? Like that's just, you have to break the structure of racism. And this school system plot with these ESN schools, ironically, the only way to break it is to circumvent the schools, which is what you see in the end, right? Because they basically said, once you're in these ESN schools, you can't get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And they make it that way on purpose, right? Because those schools, the school boards would be flooded with requests to get their kids out if that was an option. So instead, you apparently had to write to the Secretary of State, who just happened to be, drumroll, Margaret fucking Thatcher, which was an amazing note in this movie. the Ronald Reagan of British politics, a real piece of shit, proving that the sexes are not different because Margaret Thatcher was as much of a piece of shit as any other piece of shit male politician, if not worse. The Iron Lady herself. So, yeah, that was an interesting little note they had there. I chuckled and then I got angry. Like immediately.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit.
Your son ain't getting out. Don't even bother writing that letter.
So like you said, they meet with these people and they're like, hey, you know, come to our schools, right? And their school, that like, it's one of those get in where you fit in, right? This is in some lady's house.
Yep.
And at her kitchen table. And she even invites the sister in. The sister, she's very well learned. And she was like, oh, but do you know about this? And she was like, huh? She was like, girl, you know, get in here. Get in here and have some breakfast with us. And you come in and it's beautiful, right? Like the kids.
Yo, I'm already getting emotional. I was just watching these kids, man. I loved it.
Yo,
man.
The kids are having a competition of who can do their multiplication tables.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, it's so sweet. Like you only think your multiplication tables go up to 12, and then the other kid is like, no, you idiot, they go to 20. and then here comes this new kid, and he's like, no, they just keep going
to infinity.
The teacher's like, no, they just keep going and going and going. And here's Kingsley, to infinity. Like, yeah, to infinity. Like that is the proper term. And, you know, once again, showing that this kid is not dumb. He's trouble reading.
Yeah. He probably has some level of learning disability, and that's it. Doesn't make him stupid.
So they all start reading a story, and the last scene is Kingsley super fucking excited to come downstairs and eat breakfast. He's got a book in his hand, and he sits at the table and he's reading the story to his family, and everybody's captivated. And, you know, he stumbles on like one or two words, but he fucking gets it. And everybody is just it's so beautiful, man. Like this was the perfect way to end this series of film.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could not disagree with you, or I couldn't agree with you more.
I just absolutely loved it, man. Absolutely loved it. And then the image fades to space because, you know, this kid wants to be an astronaut one day.
Right.
And you feel like, you know what, like there's a chance. You know what I mean? Like at the beginning, I was like, yo, you can't even read. You know? You're not gonna make it to space.
Right.
But you know, it's that crab in a barrel mentality that I have apparently. Nah, yo.
Gentlemen C for everyone.
Yeah, man, this was beautiful, man. This was great, man.
I will tell you, because they were reading Kings and Queens of Africa for Children. I'll tell you, the person they read about, Amina, Queen of Zaria. That's my daughter's middle name, Zaria.
Yeah,
for no reason. Yeah, this is a badass warrior queen. She's no fucking joke. Yeah, it's a powerful scene, man. It's a fucking powerful scene. And for them to be reading, like the sister starts reading it. And then that transition scene, like you're talking about with him coming down, he's reading that same book, that he's finishing the story that his sister, was reading. And it's a powerful moment and everybody's excited. Even the dad is fucking excited, right? To watch him do it. But this is what I talked about in the beginning. This is the collective victory. Like I watched that and I'm sure when you watched it, like That's seeing your son. That's seeing my daughter. That's seeing black kids who are marginalized. That is seeing our people make it. It doesn't matter. Like, I will never understand the argument of like black British people versus American British people. These are our people, yo. These are our people. Right. That little boy, minus accent, looks exactly like some little black boy in America. I guarantee you. Right.
Right.
These are our people. Right. That proud mom is my mom. That proud sister is, somebody's sister. Like, that is who we are. And we get that collective joy by watching this because of the way society has unfairly set us up. But the one thing it doesn't get to take from us is this, right? You set up that shitty system. We get painted all with the same brush. Guess what? We get the victories all together too. And that shit sustains us. In a lot of ways, it sustains us. Because when I watch Kamala Harris walk down and be, during the inauguration and become the first female vice president, she isn't just the first female vice president. She's the first black female vice president, first South Asian vice president. That means a lot. And to South Asian people, that means a fuck ton. To black people, that means a fuck ton. And collectively, we get to fucking have that. And that's dope as shit. And that's like one of those, like, it's like a double-edged sword of racism. They're like, we got you, black people. But we're like, that's okay. We'll take this part.
Yeah.
And you'll never understand what that's like.
And I think part of that is like when you look at critical consensus of this anthology, a lot of talk is for Mangrove, Lovers Rock, and Red, White, and Blue. You don't really hear people talk about the other two. Yeah. And that had me a little worried, right? Because I'm like, well, maybe these two aren't as good. Like I said, Education is my number 2, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if you don't hear people talk about these last two as they do the first 3, I wonder if it's because something like that doesn't hit them the way it hit me, the way it hit you, the way it hits us. You know what I mean? I don't know how you can watch Education and not have that close to the top if you have to rank these, right?
Yeah.
I just thought it was beautiful, man. And and part of it, I guess, is I'm at a place in my life right now where I don't shy away from seeing stories about us in pain, but I don't want to have to see them.
Right.
And I just want balance. I just want balance.
That's my whole thing.
That's just all I really want.
Right. Like if I got to watch 10 movies, can't be 8-2. Like pain to like positive shit.
Right. I'm going to kill myself.
Right. Like, come on. Like we just get a little bit. Just give us a little bit. It's fine.
Right. So yeah, it left me in a place where it's like Kendrick Lamar's playing in the background. You know what I mean? We're going to be all right.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just like looking at the sort of 5 stills for each episode. Yeah, I think Red, White, and Blue. I think for me, it goes Red, White, and Blue, Education, Lovers Rock, Mangrove, Alex Weedle. I think, and I loved Mangrove. I thought it was really good. But like every subsequent episode, I'm like, well, this is also really fucking good. Like they just were fantastic stories. Do yourself a favor. If you have not watched these, please do. Or if you know somebody who hasn't watched them, please put them onto this. Yeah. I just thought I just stellar, man. Just really, really stellar work. Just impressive. Like Steve McQueen, like I can't wait for him to do more just movies because he got it, man. He's got it. Like he knows black people, and especially I want to see him do a full-fledged theater release movie about West Indians. Like that's what I want to see from him because he has got this world. Like he gets it. He gets it. He is a fully fledged in his vision of his people. And I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
So we're all West Indian now. We're taking your culture. We're going to appropriate all.
We're like Alex Weedle.
He was
all of a sudden we just culture vultures. All of a sudden we just gonna be like, nah, man. This was great.
Yeah, it really was. Very, very dope. So yeah, overall, great choice. Great choices all around for the subject matter and everything else. Steve McQueen deserves a heap of credit for his work on this. It really does. All right. That is the full review of all of the Small Axe episodes. So we will be back next week for a preview into episode 192. So look, we gave you a bunch of serious stuff, so you know what's coming. Yeah, it's going to be some crazy. So look forward to the preview episode for that next week, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye. You're watching the Black on Black Cinema YouTube channel. Make sure you check out our full reviews of Black movies, past and present. And every other week, we do a preview episode where we talk about a random topic that affects the Black community.